yesterday we had Bruce St. James in here from Outspoken. We were doing the crossover.
Yeah.
And and I saw the story. He teased it that they discussed it last night. And I'm so frustrated with what the guys did on Outspoken that I said, Joe, we got to talk about this on our show. Because I'm so angry with their take on this. Because everything that Bruce St. James does when it comes to speeding, and Bruce St. James, I agree with him on 99% of things, except when it comes to how to drive. Now, I don't show up at the racetrack. If you're unfamiliar, he's also a professional race car driver. I don't show up at the racetrack and start telling him that you should use your blinker more, right? Mm-hmm. That would be ridiculous. But when you're on the roads in Arizona, it isn't the racetrack. And yet, I would argue 80, 90% of the people think it is.
Well, and our local legislature seems to be leaning towards making it so that actually driving the speed limit
is illegal.
May be illegal. House Bill 2235.
If passed, would force drivers proceeding at less than the normal speed in traffic in the left lane to pay a $500 civil penalty. This would be enforced on roads and highways with 2 or more lanes in the same direction. To be clear, it's already illegal to travel in the left lane unless you're passing someone.
Mm-hmm.
That law is not enforced. I've never seen that law enforced. It also is illegal to speed.
Yeah.
I don't see that law enforced. I never see that law enforced.
Maybe if you're going 30 over.
What I think frustrates me is when I'm going the speed limit and I get passed by a cop and I know they're not running with lights on. And I've done this before where I talk about it on the radio, and I always have somebody call up and say, they might have been on their way to something very important, something that was timely, something. And I go, well, that's what they have lights for, right? If you're headed to an emergency, you have emergency lights. And I'm happy to get out of your way if you're running those emergency lights. That's fine. Otherwise, what's the difference between you going 65 and you going 75? Those are seconds that could matter in a situation of life and death. Then if it's a situation of life and death, turn your lights on. I'm fine with that. I don't understand why police can drive 75 with no lights on. That drives me nuts. What makes me even crazier is that I'm driving and I'm talking about the freeways, right? We got 4 or 5 lanes. I'm driving in one of the right-hand lanes. Cop comes whizzing by 10 miles over the limit. And behind him is a row of cars that are just using him to pace because they go, well, I'm not going to get a ticket if I'm following a cop going 10 over. So we have legalized illegal activity. And now the plan is, if you are going the speed limit in the left lane, but you're slower than the flow of traffic, you too would get a ticket.
You could, yeah.
Now, where does this fall apart? What that means is that the flow of traffic is going faster than the speed limit. And yet, rather than saying we need to have enhanced enforcement on the 80% of people that are driving too fast, we're actually going to punish those that are following the law.
And slow drivers have to stay in the right lane? That's already a law in Arizona.
I just said that. I agree.
I wasn't listening. I was thinking about Vern Troyer and David Cross and all those other mean-spirited things that were said.
So fundamentally speaking here, you can only use the left lane to pass if you break the law. If I'm going 65 and I come up on a car that's going 64.
You better not get in that left lane.
If I go in the left lane, but I have a bunch of cars coming up behind me that want to go 75, I would be breaking the law for not sticking with the flow of traffic, even though I'm using the left lane to pass. If I slow them down from breaking the law, now I'm not talking about that vigilante that goes out there and goes, I'm going to slow everybody down, right?
No,
but
you're
if
passing.
I'm passing. Now, does that mean what they're saying is we want you to break the law to pass so that you can fall in line with all of the other lawbreakers? Then why do we have speed limits?
Roll with your example, too.
Okay.
Let's say you get in the left lane to pass at 65, the speed limit, and a cop gets behind you.
Yeah.
What do most people do when a cop gets behind them?
I slow down.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now you've slowed down.
Now I'm going even slower.
Now you've broken the law. How long is that police officer supposed to wait since you're now going under the speed limit? How dare you?
It's completely subjective.
Before they pull you over and say, You're breaking the law. You're actually going under the speed limit, and you're just destroying the flow of traffic, Mr. Merrill. I'm going to need to write you a $500 ticket.
I will tell you that I would fight that if there were a car in the right-hand lane. So if I need to complete my pass, or if I do slow down, I need to move back over to the right-hand lane.
But if that car in the right-hand lane is going 64, it's going to take you a little time to get around it on the left.
I agree. Mm-hmm. Right. And I would fight that.
No.
How much of a leg to stand on would I have? And if the ticket is $500, how much am I going to spend? Got to take a day off work, got to get my stuff together. How much am I going to spend to go fight a ticket when the cop is going to, they're going to go to court and say, well, they broke the law. Here's the new law. He's got to go over the speed limit. He's got to break the law in order to follow the law. And yeah, that's what I'm enforcing.
But if you floor it and get in the left lane and do 85,
you're breaking
which
the law.
is 20 over.
Yeah, but we know Arizona cops won't pull you over for that.
Apparently, we're okay with that as long as you're just quick in that left lane and right back over.
Oh, my favorite is when I go through a construction zone. By the way, how dare you slow down in the Broadway curve? We know that the speed limit drops to 55 when it's under construction. When was the last time anybody went 55 through the Broadway curve in construction? It does not happen.
Unless it's backed up.
It does not happen. As we have explored the disastrous idea that the vast majority of Arizonans will approve of, because it's basically a license to speed, a House bill that would impose a new costly punishment if you drive below or at the speed limit in the left lane. However, if you're a lawbreaker, you will be rewarded. If you are a law follower, you'll be fined $500. Maybe we just stop driving altogether. Maybe we just take one of those driverless cabs.
Oh, we just let the robots do all of it.
Let the robots do it.
We've already got Waymo all over the valley.
Yeah.
But
like there's another one coming.
Tesla has some plans to launch a robo-taxi business in the near future, but they're going to be launching in Austin, Texas in June.
It'll spread.
Sure, it'll spread.
Didn't we have Uber, though? That wasn't that. What was the one that had the crash?
That was Uber, yes.
Yeah. And then GM had one, too, that they were testing.
And is Waymo everywhere in the country now?
No.
Or is...
I don't think so, no.
I think it's mostly here,
Large
right?
cities. Yeah, it's a couple of California cities. I mean, San Francisco and here is where they were testing it. LA has it now, and I think it's expanded to a few other cities. But at some point, because we've already got the infrastructure in place, we've already got the legal infrastructure in place, you can start a company here, a driverless company in Arizona. You got to think that this would be an easy follow-up for the Tesla Cybercab.
Is there a limit to how far it'll take you to? If I get in a driverless Waymo, will it take me to Vegas?
Probably not.
My guess is it will not.
One, that's state lines, but two, it's a long distance. Vegas is in a different state, Joe. I don't know if you're familiar with
I am familiar with that. What's the state lines issue?
I don't know what the legality is of the driverless vehicles in Nevada.
Okay. But if I get in an Uber, they could drive me to another state.
Right. They could.
Okay.
They don't have different laws for drivers that way.
Gotcha.
Right. Tesla says that its Cybercab is a vehicle with no steering wheel. Now, that would separate it from the Waymos. The Waymos are those Jags, those E-type Jags. They all have steering wheels, and you watch the wheels go around, especially if your car is stuck in a parking lot going in circles while you're trying to get to the airport. Teslas would have no steering wheel. And they say they want to begin volume production starting in 2026. If this is anything like other Elon Musk predictions, that means volume production would actually start in about 2030, but eventually he'd get around to it. He predicted the company would also launch the robo-taxi services in California this year, as well as other U.S. markets. And this would be a supervised FSD, a partially autonomous driving system requiring occasional driver intervention. It continues to rapidly improve with the aim of ultimately exceeding human levels of safety. I guess my question, though, how do we have occasional driver intervention if there's no steering wheel?
Maybe just gas or brake pedal, or maybe in the fully autonomous version there wouldn't be one, but in the one that they're testing with the person in it, there is one.
I feel like you're trying to fill in the gaps here, and that's not your job. It's Elon Musk's job to tell us how that works.
Hey, Paul, can you get Elon Musk on the horn? We need him in the next 90 seconds.
Yeah, get EM on there. It's great.
We don't have a number for him, Paul. What do we have you for?
I guess that they were expecting Tesla to make a lot more money this last year, and they missed expectations. So
they can't be doing too bad. They're one of the Magnificent Seven stocks.
Yeah, their net income fell 71%, though. And Tesla shares went up over 4% in after-hours trading. This was yesterday's story, so I guess the night before.
Do you know anybody who has Tesla?
Tesla stock?
Stock. I've got a buddy with it.
And I sold it when they were at like 300 and dropped, and I had made some money, so I sold it. My son had some options. He worked for them for a short period of time, and then he cashed his options because he was young, and you know how they are with options. They're like, I can have this money now, and I can buy video games.
I've got a buddy with some, and it sounds like just a roller coaster ride every couple weeks. Every time we go out to dinner, he's like, oh, Tesla's up, I'm doing great. And then the next week, it's like,
can you pick up the check?
Can you maybe get me dinner? It's been a bad week for Tesla.
Thanks for watching The Chris and Joe Show. Click to see more from Chris and Joe, and tap the button in the middle to subscribe to KTAR News.